What's good, y'all? Welcome back. My name is Simon Villanos, aka Coach V. I'm your host for today. This is episode 395, and it is week 1 of your 2024 Colorado Girls Flag football season. This is the recap here where we'll talk about all the games that went down, the 2 games that we were able to go to in person and feature, as well as talk about Playmaker of the Week and finally unveil our power rankings for both 5A and 4A. We got a pretty good jam-packed episode as many teams finally got started, if they haven't already, this season. And we got some interesting storylines to talk about already. But without further ado, let me go ahead and start with our first game recap. Now to start, let's talk about the games we went to in person, starting with Dakota Ridge versus Lakewood. This matchup took place on August 24th, 2024. That is a Saturday, right in the morning, one of the first games to be played at Dakota Ridge here. Lakewood, a second-year program after last year with a little bit of experience. Dakota Ridge entering their first year as a program, one of the new programs here in 4A in the newly sanctioned CHSAA Colorado Girls Flag football sport. So let's hop right into it. Dakota Ridge starts with the ball on their very first drive ever in program history, and it's a handoff left to number 9. That's freshman Gianna Fabrizio, I want to say, who goes ahead and gets a nice first down on the carry. A lot of yards, about 15 on this one to make it 1st and 10 approaching midfield. After an incompletion, it's 2nd down, and they go ahead and run an option here kept by the senior quarterback. That's number 29, Addie Orr. And if I'm saying your name wrong, I apologize for that. Please DM us. We want to make sure we say all those names right and give them the love they deserve. But Adior, she goes ahead and takes it for a couple yards here, about 9, making it 3rd and 1. But a penalty does push them back just a little bit, and so we repeat 3rd down. On 3rd down here, Adior goes ahead and rolls out right and decides to scramble, but doesn't get too much. So now it is 4th and 10 here after a bit of a loss, it looks like. And so here we go, 4th and 10. Dakota Ridge is going for it. And so they call an end around. I believe it's right to number 15. That's the senior Gabby Garces, I want to say, who goes ahead and finds the edge and takes it to the house. About 50 yards here on the very first touchdown in Dakota Ridge girls flag football history on a call on 4th down where they were just trying to get the first down and extend this drive. So a great play here by the senior Gabby Garces to go ahead and put Dakota Ridge on the board for the first time here. PAT's no good, but they take a 6-0 lead. Now Lakewood, they go ahead and take over here, and they hand it off left for about 5 or so yards. Couldn't see who they handed it off to on this one, but it gets about 5-ish yards, so they're just a little bit short. They hand off right here after that, but they call a flag guarding penalty. I think this would have been a 1st down, and so that's called back. It is now 3rd and 10, and on 3rd and 10, the Lakewood quarterback drops back looking for a receiver here and throws it, but it is picked off by number 27 of Dakota Ridge. That is Darian Lewis, the junior, who goes ahead and brings it to the house to put Dakota Ridge up 2 scores, 12-0, just like that. Dakota Ridge would go for 2 here, but they would be unsuccessful in this one, still though taking the 12-0 lead. And mind you, it's still the first quarter here. Now Lakewood, they would go ahead and get the ball back after that pick 6, and here's what happens. The quarterback, who I believe it's number 14, Jocelyn Jensen, sophomore quarterback, by the way. She goes ahead and throws it. A quick little check down to the flats to number 12 here, who's not listed on this roster, which is interesting. But that makes it 2nd and 6 as it doesn't go anywhere. Then there's an offsides called on the offense, or I believe a false start on the offense. So now it's 2nd and 11. Then on 2nd down, there's a dangerous pass, which is almost picked, but not quite. Great pressure by number 23. That's Emery Bowman, the sophomore for Dakota Ridge, who forces that incompletion. And so now it's 3rd down. And on 3rd down, they try a reverse here. But once again, Emery Bowman stepping up and tackling that, getting that pull for a loss to force up 3 and out. And so Dakota Ridge takes over. And on the punts here, Lakewood punts it to Dakota Ridge, and number 3 for Dakota Ridge. That's Cade Barbic here. Goes ahead and fields this one. Goes right, finds a lane, and is streaking down the sideline for another Dakota Ridge touchdown. One of the first punt return touchdowns that we have seen here as they go up 18-0. The PAT is no good, but Dakota Ridge with a pretty dominant lead here in the first quarter. Now Lakewood, they will try to get something going here after a run that will get the majority of the yards on second down. It's 3rd and inches, but on third down, it's too high of a pass, so it's incomplete. On fourth down, they go for it, but it is batted down. I want to say by the rusher here, and that would be Emery Bowman, the sophomore. And so that's a turnover on downs as Dakota Ridge takes over in the red zone, 1st and 20. After an incompletion on basically a drop pass, they do an end around to number 15. That's Gabby Garces here, who goes ahead and takes this one to the house to put them up 24-0, as this one is pretty early on here as they take a dominant lead. The final score of this game would be 37-0. Dakota Ridge with a big-time game to open up their season and to start their program in this one. A big-time win for them. Couple of stats here that I have from Max Preps. Let me go over it real quick. Addie Miller, 2 of 4 for 33 yards. Addie Orr, 2 of 8 for 10 yards. I don't know if these are complete, by the way. It doesn't seem complete, but I'm just throwing it out there. Gabby Garces with 3 carries for 76 yards. Addie Orr with 3 for 20. As far as receiving goes, I know this is probably not as complete, but Kate Barbic with 2 receptions for 10, and Darian Lewis with 1 for 23. On defense, they played really well. Emery Bowman, the rusher, sophomore rusher, with 5 pulls in this one. On defense, they had a couple picks here. Grace Klepper, junior DB, had 1. Addie Miller, senior DB, had 1, and Darian Lewis had 1 as well here. Great team win by Dakota Ridge, who just showed that they are very good and have a lot of good athletes out there as well. It'll be interesting to see how they fare moving forward, but they made a statement here in 4A with this win over Lakewood, a team that already has played last season, and so those are definitely good things moving forward. But there you go there, Dakota Ridge winning big, 37-0, thanks to a really good start by the team who played well as a whole.
What is good, y'all? This is Gino with the Playmakers Corner podcast, and it is my pleasure to bring y'all a recap of an absolute classic rivalry game that went down this past weekend on Saturday, August 24th at Littleton High School. We've got some high stakes here as the 3 Littleton high schools here that played this past weekend, Heritage, Littleton, and Arapahoe. These teams all played each other for the first time on Saturday to see who will win the first ever Crystal Cup, with the team having the best overall record getting to take home that Crystal Cup trophy. Arapahoe is fresh off a win against Littleton for their first win in program history before this game here. Meanwhile, Heritage got their first win of the year last weekend against Rock Canyon, and this game against Arapahoe will be their first of the day. If Arapahoe wins this game, the Crystal Cup trophy is theirs, and then as for Heritage, they have to win this one and then beat Littleton if they want that highly coveted trophy. With the stage set, let's not waste any more time and jump right into this recap between these 2 rivalry schools. Starting us off here in the first quarter, we got Arapahoe starting off with the ball here. It is 1st and 6 here for the Warriors. On first down, an out route from the QB, number 29, Whitney Falger to Carissa Skurdal for 5 yards, and that makes it 2nd and 1. And then on second down, Falger takes the keeper for a nice gain and a first down. It will be 1st and 8. On the next play, Falger's pass over the middle is intended for Taylor Bradley, but it is picked off by number 1, Ryan Taylor, to give Heritage a first down across midfield. It is 1st and 8 now for the Eagles near the red zone to start their first drive of the game following the pick from Taylor. On first down, the pass to, I'm so sorry for the way I'm about to butcher this, a pass to Claire Wojciechowski. I'm just going to call her Claire Woj for the rest of this recap, though. A pass to Claire Woj from the QB, Abby Nichols. That one goes for a first down and will put the Eagles deep in the red zone here, 1st and 11. But a flag following that first down will actually push them back 10 yards to make it 1st and 21. On 1st and 21, the pass from Abby Nichols is picked off by Izzy Usagani as she takes off the other way for a huge interception return before being tracked down near the red zone. Usagani is a freshman for the Warriors, and it is awesome to see her getting some big-time plays early on in this game. It is now 1st and 4 for the Warriors following the pick by Usagani. A deep pass over the middle on first down to Taylor Bradley falls incomplete. And then on second down here, it is Ryan Taylor who gets a diving flagpole on a QB keeper to prevent the first down. So it will be 3rd and 3 here. On 3rd down, it is an RPO as Whitney Falger throws it back to Hannah Cadwallader for a first down in the red zone. 1st and 19 here for Arapahoe. And then following 2 incomplete passes, it is 3rd and 19 now as Falger's deep pass over the middle is a dangerous one, and it is picked off by Caroline Belair, and it will be Heritage ball deep in their own territory here. And that, folks, is 3 interceptions on the first 3 drives of this game. Absolute chaos early on here. It is 1st and 8 following the interception for the Eagles, but the Eagles would end up turning it over on downs here, and it will be Arapahoe ball. 1st and 18 now, 3:15 left here in the first quarter. On first down, Whitney Falger keeps it for a yard, and then her pass on second down is incomplete, so it will be 3rd and 17 here. But then a false start adds another 5 yards to that, so it will be 3rd and 22. On 3rd and long, Whitney Falger heaves it over the middle, and Riley Kelly makes a crazy jumping grab for a big gain here to put them near the first down. That was a dangerous pass from Falger, but it works out here as the Warriors get near the first down. On 4th and 5, it is Whitney Falger who keeps it right for a clutch first down to put the Warriors in the red zone once again. It is 1st and 18 now. On first down, Falger buys time and finds a crossing Jet Jacobs on the slant for a solid gain, plus a holding call on Heritage makes it 2nd and 6. But another false start here makes it 2nd and 11. On second down, Finley Richards shuts down a reverse for a loss of a yard on the last play of the quarter. So that will be the end of the first here. It is still 0-0 in this one. It is 3rd and 12 here to start off the second quarter for Arapahoe. They have the ball in the red zone. On 3rd down, a short pass over the middle to the center. Julia Holland makes it 4th and 7. On 4th down, Whitney Falger rolls out right, and she finds Lizzie Padilla over 2 defenders in the end zone for an Arapahoe touchdown. They now have a 6-0 lead here with 11:15 left in the second quarter. The extra point was no good, so it will be 6-0 as we switch over to Heritage ball. On 1st and 6, Abby Nichols finds the center, Alexa Robinson, over the middle for a first down. And then on 1st and 19, a handoff to Jillian Taylor goes for 5 yards to make it 2nd and 14. On 2nd and long, Hannah Cadwallader picks off a pass over the middle to give the Warriors a first down across midfield. What a day for the Arapahoe defense. And that is 5 or maybe 6 interceptions between this game and their game against Littleton on the day. That is just ridiculous. It is 1st and 16 here for Arapahoe following that pick from Cadwallader. On 1st down, a dangerous pass from Whitney Falger finds Lizzie Padilla, and she takes that one down the sideline for another Arapahoe Warrior touchdown as they go up 12-0 here with 9:39 left in the first half. The extra point was no good, so it will be 12-0 as Heritage takes over here 1st and 6. On 1st down, Abby Nichols rolls out right on the play action and tries to scramble, but she is stopped by Izzy Usagani at the line of scrimmage as the freshman defensive back continues to dominate here defensively. The 2nd down pass was incomplete here as Heritage calls timeout with 8:40 left here in the first half. Coming out of the timeout, a pass to Avalon Lux Offerman is overthrown, and the Heritage offense will be forced to punt it here with 8 minutes left here in the first half. Arapahoe gets the ball back here, but they would actually end up punting as well as Sydney Wilson and Ryan Taylor of the Heritage Eagles absolutely dominate defensively on this drive. Ryan Taylor was finding her way around multiple double teams to get this drive shut down, and she is continuing to have a dominant game here. And it is Ryan Taylor again on the punt return as she gets a nice gain to make it 1st and 5 near midfield here for the Heritage offense. Arapahoe calls time out following the punt return with 2:31 left here in the first half. Following the timeout, Abby Nichols launches an absolute dot to Avalon Lux Offerman in stride for a near touchdown, but she is tracked down somehow by Taylor Bradley near the goal line. Upon review, it did look like Lux Offerman reached across and got the ball in the end zone, but it will be 1st and 1 following the ref's decision that she was just a yard short. On 1st and 1, Abby Nichols keeps it right on 1st and goal for a Heritage Eagle touchdown. That makes the score 12-6 here with 1:27 left in the first half. The extra point was no good, so it will be Arapahoe ball here as they still lead 12-6. Arapahoe would end up punting on this drive, though, with only 22 seconds left in the half, and it is Ryan Taylor once again who takes that punt a long way to put Heritage near the red zone here to give them a shot to score here before the end of the first half. It will be 1st and 1 as the deep pass from Abby Nichols is dropped, and that will take us to halftime. It is 12-6. Arapahoe leads Heritage in this game for the Crystal Cup. Starting off here, 1st and 6 for Heritage to start off the second half, but they would actually end up punting on this drive with 9:30 left here in the third quarter. Following that, it is Arapahoe ball now. They will get the ball here, but it will actually be a turnover on downs as Ryan Taylor continues to absolutely dominate rushing. Taylor is definitely one of those players that we're going to keep an eye out for all PMC teams, as she is really just shutting down drives single-handedly almost, as she is completely disrupting this Arapahoe offense. It is 1st and 19 for Heritage following that turnover on downs. Alina Shinaberry takes a handoff for 2 yards. And then on 2nd down, Alexa LaDuff, the safety, leaps up on the deep jump ball and makes the grab for the Arapahoe Warriors' 3rd interception of the game. What a catch and what a play there from LaDuff to give the ball back to the Warriors. It is 1st and 14 for Arapahoe following that big-time interception. A slant on 1st down goes to Izzy Usagani, who takes it for a massive gain to put the Warriors in the red zone here. 1st and 16 now. On 1st down, Ryan Taylor gets a huge sack as she is just completely dominating to make it 2nd and 16. Ryan Taylor got another pressure on the next play here as Whitney Falger rolls out left and her pass falls incomplete with the pressure from Taylor to make it 3rd and 16. On 3rd and long, Finley Richards swats down a pass, so it will be 4th down as that takes us to the end of the third quarter. Arapahoe leads this game 12-6. Starting off the final quarter of the game here, it is 4th and 16 in the red zone for Arapahoe. Let's see what happens here. On 4th down, Whitney Fowler's deep pass to the end zone is incomplete, overthrown, so that will be a turnover on downs as Heritage gets one more opportunity to try and tie this game up. 1st and 1 for Heritage, down one score late in this game, right up on that 1st down line. Abby Nichols keeps it up the middle on 1st down, avoiding 2 flagpoles for a big-time first. And then on 1st down, Nichols hits Claire Woj on a crow route for 5 yards. Follow that up with a big-time run here from Abby Nichols once again, who completely burns the defense for a massive gain into the red zone to make it 1st and 19. Nichols doing absolutely everything she can to keep drives alive and to keep the Eagles in this game. Following that, a couple of check down passes fall incomplete as Daisy Padilla is getting some good pressure here on those plays. On 3rd and very long, Abby Nichols lobs one up to the end zone, and it is caught by a jumping Avalon Lux Offerman over a defender for the Heritage Eagles touchdown. What a play there from Lux Offerman and Abby Nichols to tie this game up here in the 4th quarter with 8:35 left in regulation. The extra point was dropped, so it will be a tied game here as Arapahoe takes over. The 1st down pass is dropped, and then a ball over the middle is caught by Izzy Usagani and the defender who was on her, so they both are fighting over the ball. But the rule is that the tie goes to the offense, so it will be 3rd and 4 here for Arapahoe following the catch by Usagani. On 3rd down, Whitney Fowler finds Taylor Bradley, who has open space and takes it for a big-time gain across midfield. It will be a 1st and 16 here for Arapahoe. On 1st down, a handoff to Hannah Cadwalder goes for 3 yards. And then on 2nd down, a deep ball to Alexa LaDuff is absolutely perfect, but it slips through her fingers, so it falls incomplete, and it will be 3rd and 13 here for Arapahoe. On 3rd and 13, Whitney Fowler keeps it for an amazingly clutch run to her left for a 1st down into the red zone as the clock ticks under 4 minutes and 30 seconds. It will be 1st and 19 for the Warriors. On 1st down, an out route to Alexa LaDuff goes for 4 yards, and then on 2nd down, Whitney Fowler avoids a sack and checks it down at the last second to Julia Holan for 3 yards. It will be 3rd and 12 now. On 3rd down, Alexa LaDuff lays out to the back of the end zone on the deep ball, but it is slightly overthrown. Great effort there, though, from LaDuff, but it is 4th and 12 now as we get to the 2-minute warning. Following the 2-minute warning, a pass to the end zone intended for Julia Holan in triple coverage falls incomplete, so it will be a turnover on downs here for Arapahoe as Heritage takes over here with 1:47 left in the game. 1st and 8 here for Heritage. Lizzie Padilla gets a big-time clutch flagpole on a scramble to make it 2nd and 6. On 2nd down, Taylor Bradley steps up here and gets a big-time sack to make it 3rd and 5 with under 39 seconds left here in the game. A false start makes it 3rd and 10, so it is 23 seconds left. On 3rd and 10, Lizzie Padilla stops a run once again, and that will take us to the end of regulation with a tied score here, 12-12. This will be our very first overtime game of the 2024 high school flag football season, and it is super exciting that this is even happening right now. This game's been absolutely ridiculous so far, with both teams balling out, making big-time plays, turnovers, touchdowns, big-time runs. Everything's happening right now. So let's go ahead and see what happens here in overtime. And also, by the way, overtime rules are just like in college. The offense gets the ball on the 20-yard line. They have 4 plays to try and score. And then if they score, they have to try and score an extra point. And then the other team gets a chance to try and tie the game up. If both teams score and are still tied after 1 possession each, then they scoot the ball up to the 10-yard line, and so on and so forth. But that is neither here nor there. Let's go ahead and check into overtime, where it is Arapahoe ball here to start us off. 1st and 20 here for Arapahoe from the 20-yard line. On the first play of OT, Whitney Falger lobs one up near the end zone, and it is caught by Taylor Bradley on the very first play of OT. And the Warriors now lead 18-12, just like that. On the extra point, Ryan Taylor gets a flagpole, but the refs say that Whitney Falger made it across the goal line on the keeper, and that is our first extra point of the game to make it a 7-point game here. 19-12, Arapahoe leads. Upon review of that play, it looks like Falger was definitely over the line, so that was the right call by the refs. They had initially called it short, but then they changed it to good. So everything is all good here. Arapahoe leads 19-12 with Heritage taking over here 1st and 20. On first down, a pass is somehow dropped by an open receiver near the sideline. And then on second down, Julia Holland gets a big-time clutch flagpole on a swing pass to make it 3rd and 16 here. On 3rd and long, Abby Nichols takes the snap and keeps it up the middle and goes all the way for a Heritage Eagles touchdown. She avoided multiple flagpoles there on that run to give Heritage a chance to tie up the game. It all comes down to this extra point here, though. Here we go. Abby Nichols takes the snap. She rolls out right and kind of bobbles the snap a little bit. Looks like the snap was low. She thinks about running it, but she decides to flip it into the end zone. But Carissa Skurdal of Arapahoe steps up and tips the pass, and the pass falls behind her into the hands of a receiver to tie the game. But the pass is just barely dropped in the end zone. The Arapahoe Warriors get the big-time overtime win here over the Heritage Eagles, so that means they will be taking home the Crystal Cup trophy in the first ever Crystal Cup. The Warriors start their first season as a program 2-0, while Heritage moves to 1-1 in what is also their first season as a program. What a game! That was just a flat-out amazing game to witness. Both teams showed so much promise and heart in those first 48 minutes, so it only seemed right for us to get blessed with an overtime finish there. I just want to briefly talk about both of these teams and how they did before I wrap up this recap, though. So let's start off here with the Arapahoe Warriors. I think ultimately the biggest thing that impressed me about Arapahoe was just their poise and execution on defense. They seemed to be ready to get a stop or a big play no matter where they were in the game, and no matter if it was 1st and goal or 3rd and 20. I think they had 6 or 7 interceptions between the two games they played on Saturday, which is just flat out ridiculous. Players like the freshman Izzy Usagani, Alexa LaDuff, and Lizzie and Daisy Padilla, just to name a few, were making huge plays all game on both sides of the ball, but especially on defense. Usagani and LaDuff are the core of potentially one of the best secondaries in the entire state. Both girls had multiple interceptions on the day and made it extremely difficult to have any sort of big plays against them. And then it is Lizzie and Daisy Padilla who are two of the main rushers that the Warriors switch in and out. They had some extremely clutch flag pulls throughout Saturday's games. Offensively here for the Warriors, their use of slants and crossing routes opens up a lot of possibilities for big plays, and we saw this in full reality with the QB Whitney Falger finding a crossing receiver for a clutch big gain on a late down several times to keep drives alive. Falger went 20 for 38 through the air for 232 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Izzy Usagani, Alexa LaDuff, and both Padillas are used as receivers, and they made a big impact there as well. Another great receiver and defensive player on this squad is Taylor Bradley, though. I believe she was the leading receiver as she had 7 receptions for 113 yards and the game-winning touchdown in overtime. Overall, though, I like what I saw from Arapahoe on Saturday. especially considering that a lot of these girls are brand new to the game of football as of like 2 months ago. They are one of those teams that doesn't rely on one or two players to win games. It is definitely a team effort with this Arapahoe squad. The Warriors are one of those dark horse teams to keep an eye out for in 5A, especially when you consider how polished that defense already is. Now for Heritage, that was an extremely tough way to lose that game. If it wasn't for a couple of dropped extra points and dropped interceptions, Heritage would have most likely come out on top in this game. The Eagles are easily one of the more exciting teams in all of 5A, though, with a QB in Abby Nichols that has the arm and the athleticism to be able to keep the Eagles in any game they will play in. She's got some nice targets to throw to as well, like Avalon Lux Offerman, who showed some excellent ability to get open downfield and make plays. And then on defense here, they are led by the senior rusher / linebacker Ryan Taylor, a.k.a. maybe one of the top defensive playmakers in the state. She is extremely quick on her rushes and has shown some very impressive ability to get around blockers and even beat a few double teams throughout Saturday. I fully expect her to stay in the top defensive player conversation, especially as we get closer to award season at the end of the year. Overall, though, I really like what this Heritage team has for themselves. Their play calling is great. They have a dynamic QB, good receivers, good defense. The Eagles will be just fine this season, and I expect them to come back stronger than ever following this loss. Despite being a first-year program, this is easily one of the more complete programs in the entire state, and I cannot wait to see what they do for the rest of this season. And with that all being said, folks, this is Gino with the Playmakers Corner podcast, and I am going to go ahead and check out here. I will see you all in week 2 of the 2024 season. So, yeah, see you later.
All right, thank you, Gino. I don't think he had stats for that game whenever he did the recap, so I'm just going to go ahead and list it off here in case he did it. And so let's start with the Arapahoe, the team who won here 19-18. Freshman quarterback Whitney Folger, 20 of 38, 232 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks though, but also ran 10 times for 64 yards. She was the lead passer and rusher there. As far as receivers go, Taylor Bradley, the sophomore, led the squad with 7 receptions for 113 yards and a touchdown. Freshman Izzy Usagani had that big 1 reception for 41 yards that extended that drive there. Junior Lizzie Padilla, she had 3 receptions for 35 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Alexa LaDuff right there kind of rounding out that top group of receivers, 3 receptions for 22. On defense, it was the freshman, number 11, Izzy Usagani, with 7 total pulls there. She also had an interception as well. They had senior Hannah Cadwallader, I want to say, who had 6 pulls and an interception. And then Lizzie Padilla had 6 tackles or 6 pulls as well. And then Alexa LaDuff, their safety, had an interception in this one, and a great defensive effort. For Heritage, it wasn't too bad. Senior Abby Nichols at quarterback went 8 of 16 for 55 yards, 1 touchdown to 2 picks, but she rushed only 5 times for 98 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Alina Shinaberry, junior athlete for them, had 4 rushes for 35 yards, and Jillian Taylor, the sophomore, had 2 for 24. As far as receivers go, I don't know if this is complete here. I feel like maybe it should have been a little bit more than this. But Avalon Lux Offerman, the senior, had 2 receptions for 20 and a touchdown. By the way, this is recorded, or the stats part is recorded as of August 27th. So if it's not updated, then I apologize, but it's what I have. Ryan Taylor, the senior, had 6 total pulls and 3 sacks in this one. Sophia Eskandon here, senior, she had 6 pulls as well. Sydney Wilson had 2 sacks in this game. Ryan Taylor also had a pick, and Caroline Belair, the sophomore, had a pick in this one. In a very close matchup, like Gino said, both these teams I feel like are very evenly matched, and if they do meet up again, what a treat that would be. But there you go there. That is your recap of Arapahoe versus Heritage. All right, now let's get to the other games from week 1. Let's go back in time a little bit. August 21st, Wednesday, officially started week 1 in our eyes. We go Wednesday to Wednesday with our coverage. But let's go to North Glen versus Denver West here, where North Glen remains undefeated as they take down Denver West 27-0. Quarterback Sidney Reese, the senior, 12 of 18 for 104 yards and a touchdown. Also had 5 carries for 12 yards and a touchdown and 2 receptions for 37 yards. The defense for North Glen balled out in this one. 5 interceptions from the squad, including a pick 6 from Darian Gordon, and then picks from Evelyn James and Leah James, as well as Carol Martinez Carino, I want to say, and L. Taylor in this one as North Glen moves to 2-0. Now, Chaparral, they would face off with Cherokee Trail on this day as well, and they would win big, 36-0. Chaparral's starting freshman phenom quarterback Zoe Fink, who we got to watch a lot of in the summer league here, went a perfect 12 of 12 for 79 yards and 2 passing touchdowns, as well as 1 rush for 23 yards in her high school flag football varsity debut. One of the youngest quarterbacks in the state and one of the most talented players in the state as well, playing very well. In addition, Sophia O'Donnell for them was their lead rusher with 5 carries for 46 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jamie Baum was one of their lead receivers, senior by the way, with 2 receptions for 19 yards, both going for 2 touchdowns. It looks like Molly McWilliams had a punt return touchdown, and Sophie Matthews had an interception as Chaparral dominated this one 36-0 over Cherokee Trail. Regis Jesuit would play another game here on Wednesday, and they would blow out Highlands Ranch 41-7. Nala Barnes, the senior, 19 of 28 for 168 yards, 4 touchdowns, only 1 pick, but had 5 carries for 40 yards. Alexia Toval and Victoria Hadley also each threw touchdown passes in this one. Caitlin Bueller, the freshman, led all receivers with 6 receptions for 102 yards and a touchdown, followed by senior Catherine Uri, 4 for 47 and a touchdown, and freshman Ava Keene, who went 3 of 38 for a touchdown there. On the defensive side of the ball, Keely Graff, a freshman, led the squad with 5 pulls here, and this defense had 5 interceptions from Ariel Sandoval-Reed, who, by the way, I believe has had a pick in every game she's played so far. Nala Barnes, who had 2, Keely Graff had 1, and Mate Barnes, excuse me if I'm saying that wrong, had an interception as well as Regis Jesuit wins big. Thunder Ridge would play Ponderosa in a very close game here, and they would win 7-0, this score being very early in the second quarter for Thunder Ridge, and that being the difference as they take care of business there. Moving on, Heritage would open here against Rock Canyon with some very long delays here. Just taking up a lot of time, but at the end of the day, they would end up winning this one 33-16. Abby Nichols of Heritage, the senior, won 12 of 25 for 175 yards, 2 touchdowns to 3 picks, but also rushed 12 times for 60 yards and 2 touchdowns. Alina Shinaberry, the junior, had 13 rushes for 50 yards. Avalon Lux Offerman, the senior, had 4 receptions for 60 yards and a touchdown, followed by Jillian Taylor, who had 5 receptions for 40 yards. On the defensive side here, Ryan Taylor, 18 pulls here. That's the most out of any player this season so far, and this big one also had a sack and an interception, just being an absolute menace out there for Heritage leading this defense. And then speaking of defense, they had 5 interceptions as a group. Sophomore Gianna Dye had 2, and senior Sophia Pratt had 2, as well as Ryan Taylor's 1 to make that 5, as Heritage wins big 33-16, a little bit closer with all the delays and whatnot, but still a good game by Heritage as they win big. Mountain Vista would play Douglas County / I believe Castleview. That's a team that's combined from both of those squads here. But they would take care of business and remain undefeated, winning 33-0. Horizon would go ahead and beat Aurora West College Prep Academy. Try saying that a couple times. And they would win 26-0 in that one. I only have like receiving stats from and like defensive stats from Horizon, which is interesting. I would love more. But, it is what it is there. Sophomore, I think it's Gino Harris, excuse me if I'm saying that wrong, had 4 receptions for 70 yards. A lot of that being on one big 40-yard reception there. On the defensive side of the ball, Addison French had 4 tackles and a sack. Carissa Riley and Leah Moorbach each had a sack as well. And then Sophia DeAnnie had an interception as Horizon shuts out Aurora West College Prep Academy, I believe in one of their first games this season. Legacy would go ahead and play Mountain Range and take them down 25-0, getting their first win of the year. Gianna Schmidt, she was in at quarterback for Legacy. Junior, by the way. She went 7 of 12 for 65 yards on a passing touchdown. Sophia Salazar, a sophomore, had 2 carries for 40 yards. I believe this is pronounced Ajla Sherik, had 3 receptions for 40 yards. They're leading all receivers. And then on the defensive side, Lola Hen had 5 tackles and a pick as Legacy shuts out Mountain Range and gets a win. Mountain View would play their first game here against Thornton, and they would blow them out 34-0. Senior Mason Premer, 6 of 15 for 95 yards and 4 touchdowns in this one. Senior Kendall Finley, 3 of 3 for 22 yards and a passing touchdown. Freshman Kiara Knowles got in there 5 of 7 for 64 yards as they played multiple quarterbacks. Senior Maya Artis, she had 2 receptions for 45 yards and 2 touchdowns. Gwen Marks had 1 receiving touchdown. And then on the defensive side, Kendall Finley also had 2 tackles and a pick as Mountain View gets on the board in their first ever program game and dub of this season and in history, really. All right, now moving on, we're going to go ahead and talk about August 23rd, Friday, skipping a day here, as there were games on this one, a couple actually in this one. Let's start with my alma mater, TCA, playing Thunder Ridge and winning in an upset in TCA's debut. Thunder Ridge in their second season here, they beat them 26-19 in a close one, but a big win for a team like TCA, who is on the 4A level and Thunder Ridge being 5A, as well as them being a first-year program compared to Thunder Ridge's second program. A good close win there and a heartbreaking one for Thunder Ridge. Now, Valor Christian, they would go ahead and play Denver South before their boys' home opener here, and they would win pretty big, 33-0 here. Got some stats here. Junior quarterback Faith Prinzo, I believe that's how you say it, won 13 of 20 for 167 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, only 1 pick, but also had 12 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. Senior wide receiver Alexis Wood, and also one of our watch list players, she led receivers with 4 receptions for 62 yards and a touchdown. Savannah Prinzo, I want to say, had 5 receptions and 57 yards for a touchdown. Savannah Khan with 4 receptions for 53 yards and a touchdown in this one. On the defensive side of the ball, Winter Keogh, I want to say that's how you say it. The sophomore had 4 tackles. Jade Harry had a sack. Stella Westcott had a sack. And Reese Beezer, I want to say, had an interception as Valor Christian starts undefeated for this season, holding Denver South to 0. Now, Vista Ridge, they would go ahead and play Smoky Hill in their debut. Smoky Hill, a program that has been around Vista Ridge in their first year. They would win a close one, 9-6. Gateway would go ahead and beat Vista Peak 15-0. Also, by the way, if I'm not saying stats, it's because as of August 26th or August 27th, they are not in, so please put them in when you can. So there you go there. Ralston Valley would open against Northfield and blow them out 44-0. Senior quarterback Zoe Zola, 24 of 28. Ooh, 379 yards, 5 touchdowns, 28 rushing yards, playing a near perfect game. On the end of a lot of those receptions here was fellow senior Carmen Johnson, who led all receivers with 11 receptions for 145 yards and 2 touchdowns. Junior Emma O'Connor had 3 receptions for 76 yards and a touchdown. And then junior Ashlyn Callahan had 3 receptions for 60 yards and a touchdown. Also, by the way, Shelby Calismo, freshman, she had 3 receptions for 41 and a touchdown as this offense was humming. On the defensive side of the ball, Grace Hodgson, she had 6 tackles. This defense had 6 total sacks from Izzy Bussey, Emma O'Connor, Georgia Jansen, a senior with 2 of those sacks, by the way. And then Savvy Dorotic, I want to say, who's a sophomore, and Shelby Kalismo, who had 1 as well. The defense was cooking as well in the secondary with 4 interceptions from Ashlyn Callahan, who had 2, Carly No with 1, and Riley DeJesus, DeJesus, I want to say, with 1 as well. As Ralston Valley starts with a dominant win over Northfield, 44-0. Rangeview would beat Vista Peak 15-0. Regis Jesuit would beat Eagle Crest pretty big here, 27-0 here. Quarterback Nala Barnes, the senior, 14 of 22, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns. Receiving wise, Delaney Sitzman, the junior, 7 of 9 this is passing wise, 7 of 9 for 23 yards and 1 pick, but also had 2 rushes for 25 yards and a touchdown. As far as receiving goes, this is Paige Combs here, the junior. She had 3 receptions for 62. Catherine Uri, 4 for 34 and 1. And then on defense, Mate Barnes, the sophomore, with 4 tackles. And Ariel Sandoval Reed continues that interception streak with 1 interception and 2 pass deflections in this one, as Regis Jesuit continues to roll, and I believe continue to stay undefeated. And then your last game from Friday, Aurora West College Prep Academy beats Aurora Central 28-13. Aditi Areola, I want to say, had 5 rushes for 65 yards and a touchdown. Vanessa Smith, the junior, she had 6 receptions for 55 yards and a touchdown in this one. All right, moving to Saturday, we have a whole bunch of games from August 24th here. Obviously, we had Dakota Ridge versus Lakewood and Arapahoe versus Heritage. Make sure you check out those recaps. We talk about stats there. But to start off, we have North Glen beating Evergreen 12-6 in a relatively close one here. Senior quarterback Sydney Reese went 8 of 11 for 48 yards and a pick, but it also looks like Elle Taylor, the senior, got in and threw for 7 of 11 for 45 yards and had 11 carries for 75 rushing yards. Interesting there that they played 2 quarterbacks in this one. But Evelyn James, a sophomore, continues her tear. 6 receptions, 52 yards and a touchdown. That led all receivers. On defense, she also had 5 tackles, 1 sack, and a pick. Kepper Trinkle also had 5 tackles, and a sack. And then this defense had 5 sacks altogether. Madeline Olmos, a sophomore, had 2. Carol Martinez Tiscarino, I want to say, the freshman, had 1. And then obviously Evelyn James and Kepper Trinkle had 1 each as well. And then Darian Gordon with another interception in this one, as they win a tough game against a pretty solid Evergreen squad, 12-6. Ralston Valley continues their dominance here as they blow out Horizon 34-0. Senior quarterback Zoe Zoll, 16 of 22, 194 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks, 26 rushing yards. Carmen Johnson leading receivers, it looks like here, 4 of 51 for 1 touchdown. You also had Ashlyn Callahan, who got 6 receptions for 45 yards and a touchdown, and Shelby Kalismo with 2 receptions for 44 yards and a touchdown. Ashlyn Callahan and Shelby Kalismo also having good defensive games. Callahan with 5 tackles and a pick. Kalismo with 2 sacks and 3 tackles, as this defense also shuts out Horizon in this one. Rock Canyon would go ahead and play Grandview here, where they would lose once more, 25-14. At half, this game was 14-13 with Rock Canyon leading, but Grandview would persevere here and score 12 points in the 4th quarter here to go ahead and put this one away and get another dub. Horizon would then play Cherokee Trail and blow them out 35-0. Arapahoe, before they played Heritage, would play Littleton and win 25-0. Whitney Folger, the freshman quarterback, 10 of 14, 62 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 13 rushing yards. Alexa LaDuff, the junior, 6 receptions for 55 yards and 2 touchdowns, all jump ball touchdowns, by the way. Lizzie Padilla, 7 tackles and a pick, and then 5 interceptions from this Arapahoe defense from Hannah Cadwallader, who had 2, Alexa LaDuff, and Izzy Usagani. Chatfield, just down the road here, would go ahead and beat Eagle Crest big here, 33-0 in their very first game. Senior quarterback Alexis McClellan in this one went 15 of 20 for 158 yards, 3 touchdowns, only 1 pick, but also had 3 rushes for 26 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown. Lead receiver in this one was sophomore Sadie Goodwin, who had 7 receptions for 42 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jaden Lodice also got in there at receiver receiver, 5 receptions, 34 yards, and a touchdown. Also went 4 of 7 for 38 yards and 2 picks. On the defensive side of the ball, they were led by the Archuleta sisters. Melanie, aka Ducky Archuleta, a senior, had 10 tackles and a pick. Kenna Archuleta, the freshman, had 11 tackles here and actually led the team in that on the defensive side of the ball. Caitlin Dennis played great in this one, who had 4 sacks. Kendall Hollenkamp had 2 sacks, and this defense had 4 interceptions, eating on that side of the ball, with Archuleta, Lauren Scott, Jaden Lodice, and Eleanor Ward, who I believe had a pick 6, all getting picks as they put away Eagle Crest 33-0 and start, I believe, 1-0. Chaparral, they would go ahead and blow out Lakewood back in Dakota Ridge here in Littleton, winning 63-0. Zoe Fink, the freshman phenom, 22 of 28, 310 yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 pick, 34 rushing yards. Sophia O'Donnell, the junior, 75 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns on 84 carries. Also had 2 receptions for 24 yards and a touchdown. Sydney Matthews, though, led the squad in receiving. The sophomore had 3 receptions for 151 yards and the hat trick with 3 receiving touchdowns. Nicole Cook brought in 5 receptions for 51 yards and a touchdown. Jamie Baum with 4 receptions and 50 yards and a touchdown. This defense had 3 picks from Sophie Matthews, Brianna Baltazar, and Molly McWilliams as they dominate and remain undefeated. Ralston Valley would then end their opening weekend with another big-time win, this time over Cherokee Trail, 66-0. Zoe Zoll on a tear, 18 of 24, 265 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks, 22 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown to add on. Carmen Johnson leading the team with 5 receptions, 87 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Shelby Calismo with 5 receptions for 49 yards. Izzy Bussey, Riley De Jesus, Allison La Barbara, Ashlyn Callahan all had receiving touchdowns in this one. And then this defense continues to play great football here with another shutout. I don't believe they've allowed a score this season yet in the 3 games they played. As this defense is playing as well as its offense, at least on paper it is, with their squad getting 5 sacks, with Izzy Bussey getting 2, Gracie Hodgson with 2, Shelby Calismo with 1, and then 4 picks as well, with Emma O'Connor getting 1, Gracie Hodgson with another, playing great football by the way, Ashlyn Callahan with 1, and Kate Harold with another, as Ralston Valley continues to roll here. Green Mountain, they go ahead and beat Eagle Crest 28-6. North Glen would go ahead and beat Denver North to stay undefeated, them beating them 25-0. L. Taylor, it looks like, started this game at quarterback or got the majority of the snaps. She went 8 of 15 for 96 yards, 2 touchdowns to 3 picks. Also had 5 rushing yards for 30 yards. Evelyn James with a great game per usual, 3 receptions, 50 yards and a touchdown. Also had 8 tackles and a pick on defense. Kwepper Trinkle, 4 receptions, 40 yards and a touchdown. And then this defense for North Glen playing well in this shutout. 5 interceptions from Sydney Reese, Leah James, and L. Taylor as they play just great football in this one. And obviously Evelyn James contributing to that interception count as well. Legend would continue their win streak here as they beat Columbine 26-7. The only stats I have here are from Columbine, and so I want to shout out Columbine's Emma Hertz, a junior who had 5 receptions for 72 yards and a touchdown, the lone one for Columbine, scoring against a great Legend defense there. So there you go. Heritage, they would play Littleton after Arapahoe and blow off some steam as they would beat them 52-0. Abby Nichols playing her best game of the season in this one, 12 of 18, 197 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks, 7 rushes, 67 yards and a touchdown. Zona Welling, the sophomore, got, I think she was their lead receiver. She had 3 receptions for 37 yards and a touchdown, or one of their lead receivers, I want to say. Avalon Lux Offerman, 2 receptions for 60 yards and a touchdown. Claire Roger, I'm sorry, I'm going to say that wrong. Claire W., but she had 4 receptions for 60 yards and 2 touchdowns. Claire, hit us up in the DMs and tell us how to say your name. We'd appreciate it as we anticipate saying it more later this season. On the defensive side of the ball, Finley Richards, 8 tackles. Defense had 4 picks from Sophia Pratt, Gianna Dye, Sydney Wilson, and Finley Richardson as Heritage gets back in the winning column in this one, winning big. big. Now, the last game from Saturday I want to talk about is Chatfield versus Green Mountain. We were meant to go to this game, but I believe their schedule was ahead of us with that set of games over there, and we were already an hour behind when we started, and then our game, which was Arapahoe versus Heritage, went into overtime, so we weren't going to get there in time to cover the majority of that game anyways. But Chatfield took care of business. They beat Green Mountain 26-12 to remain undefeated moving forward. So a great start for Chatfield here. No stats from this game, by the way, but like I said, still a great start from Chatfield to wrap up this Saturday. All right, now let's move to Monday, August 26th here. We have a couple games, just 3. Mullen would play Aurora Central, and Mullen would win big, 66-0. I have stats from this one. Junior quarterback Steffi Thomas, 8 of 10 for 183 yards and the hat trick, 3 touchdowns in this one. She also had 6 rushing yards. And then it looks like Maddie Walby got in there at quarterback throwing a pass, and Chloe Pelster, another junior, got in there throwing 2 passes, 2 for 2 for 38 yards and 2 touchdowns. On the receiving end here, it looks like it would be the senior, number 15, Keaton. I want to say it's Erngwa Egbert. She had 4 receptions for 113 yards and 2 touchdowns. Zavi Garcia, the senior, had 3 receptions for 83 yards and 2 touchdowns in this one, leading that squad. On the defensive side, Ruby Shaw, the junior, with 5 pulls. Emily Anderson, the senior, with 5 pulls. Julie Tucker, the sophomore, with a sack. And then this defense had 6 interceptions from senior Emily Anderson, Lucy Thompson, the junior, Maddie Walby, the sophomore, Lily Evans, the junior, who had 2, by the way, and Aaliyah Garcia, the senior, who had 1, as they go ahead and shut out Aurora Central and get a win for Mullen. I want to say this was their first win and game of the season, so congrats to Mullen. Moving on here, we would have Cherry Creek versus Mountain Vista. Creek making state last year and falling to Arvada West. Mountain Vista actually just beating Arvada West and Pomona last year in this one, which took place at halftime help. Mountain Vista would take a pretty dominant lead here, scoring in the first half, going up by 2 scores. They will get another in the third quarter, and I believe they would get that would be it. Sorry. They would score 20 points. Cherry Creek would score in the fourth quarter, but this one would pretty much be over, as Mountain Vista is now the first team ever to beat the 2 teams who went to state last season here. Granted, the last 2 seasons weren't sanctioned, but them being the first team to beat those 2 squads who went to state is big time and says a lot for them and really solidifies them as the number 1 team in the state, especially in 5A there. So there you go, Mountain Vista with another big win over Cherry Creek this time. Now, Overland and Thornton would play as well, but as of right now, which is August 27th, 6:11 p.m. there is nothing on that, so I do not have scores on that game. All right, quickly moving on, let's go to Tuesday, August 27th. That is today. At the moment that I am recording this, it is the 27th, 9:52 p.m. when I'm starting this. Some of these games have scores, some do not. We're going to do our best here. Obviously, most of them don't have any stats, though, so very unfortunate. But just going down the line, we have Rangeview versus Denver West. Denver West winning this one 13-10 in a very close matchup there, as they come up victorious. And then the next 2 games I have listed here, Northfield versus Vista Peak Prep, Denver South versus Denver North. No scores listed as of right now, 9:52 p.m. So that is what it is. Then we have Denver East versus Thomas Jefferson, a pretty close one here, but Denver East wins and scoots past TJ, winning 16-14 in a 2-game win there. Rangeview played Kennedy, and it looks like they won by at least 35-0, so there's that. George Washington plays Denver South. Hinkley versus Northfield. No scores for those as of right now. Unfortunate. Horizon versus Mountain View. Mountain View with a big time showing, winning big 33-0 against them, shutting them out. So there you go there. Then we have Valor Christian versus Douglas County in this game here. A lot closer than we thought it would be. Valor Christian winning 14-7. It looks like Douglas County opened the first quarter with a touchdown, but then Valor would score in the second and third to seal that game away. So there you go there. Vista Peak versus Hinckley. Bruce Randolph versus Manual. No scores available for those as of right now. I do have Bruce Randolph versus Lincoln. They end up beating them 8-6, just barely in that one. And then last but not least, we have Mountain Vista versus Cherokee Trail. Mountain Vista continues the reign of terror as they win big time, 64-0. So there you go there. Apologize for not having scores. Teams, if you could post scores right after they play, that would be excellent. We would appreciate that. It also helps y'all's coverage too. So there you go there. Those are your recaps for week 1 of the 2024 Colorado High School girls flag football season. All right, moving on, let's talk about the week 1 Playmaker of the week. There could only be one, but we have a couple of very strong candidates. To start, North Glen has another one here. Evelyn James has been on a roll. I think she has had a touchdown and a pick in every single game, all 3 of the games that they played from this week. That is absolutely big time. I also believe North Glen is undefeated, as she's been a great two-way player for them, so she was in consideration. Freshman quarterback from Chaparral, Zoe Fink, has been in consideration. They're currently undefeated, and she has played very, very good football. So there you go there. Ariel Sandoval-Reed of Regis Jesuit is on an interception streak right now, as in catching them. Then obviously we considered a number of players from the Arapahoe versus Heritage game, as that was a very close game. And then last but not least, we have Zoe Zoll out of Ralston Valley here, who has been on an absolute tear, just killing it out there, playing some very good football. Plus, they're undefeated, so there is that. But there could only be one, and it really came down to some players from that Arapahoe Heritage game, but we felt like that was a really good team win, so we'll leave it at that. And so your week 1 Playmaker of the week is Ralston Valley senior quarterback, number 26, Zoe Zoll. Not only did they go undefeated going 3-0, but she passed for 840 passing yards, 14 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions. She also had 76 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. She's now the lead passer in the state after one dominant week here. And so we feel like it has to be Ralston Valley's Zoe Zoll as our week 1 Playmaker of the week here in this 2024 Colorado Girls High School flag football season. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about power rankings here for girls flag football. There's 5A and 4A. Here's how we do power rankings. It's the same process that we do for boys football and women's college flag football. Basically, whoever is doing the rankings, we rank the teams 1 through 10. If a team's ranked at number 1, they get 10 points, 2 9 points, 3 8 points, so on and so forth. Then I basically add up the points. The team with the most points is closer to the top at number 1. For 5A, it's just me and Gino doing the rankings. For 4A, Kodey, myself, and Gino are doing the rankings. And so as we go through these PMC rankings, I'll talk about our personal rankings as well and the reasons why some of us have teams rated at certain spots. I will say this, for 5A, we're very familiar with those teams. Not only did we get to see the majority of them play the last couple years, but we got to see them play in the summer league as well. So they definitely have more experience. A lot of the 4A teams, they've only been around for maybe a year or two max. Maybe they were there at the beginning, but we haven't been able to watch them much since the beginning a couple years ago. We just know what kind of culture they have there. So it's more speculation. I would say 5A is a little bit more solidified than 4A. But, you know, we're open to being wrong. And we do expect these to change moving forward, as there will be some good matchups that will change some of those here soon. All right, now let's go ahead and start in 5A, where it's just me and Gino ranking teams here. Just outside, we decided, is Heritage, Grandview, and North Glen. And I'll give the reasons why here. We discussed it. North Glen, they've been on a tear. They're undefeated. You know, they've played some tough squads here. but we do need to see them play some a little bit tougher squads here in 5A specifically for us to move them up, but they were just outside, definitely in consideration. Grandview, even though they suffered one loss to Regis Jesuit, they've been kind of rolling, and even that one loss to Regis was pretty close. It was a one-score game, so we're not as concerned. They could definitely sneak into the top 10 if they continue to win, but they need some signature wins here. And then just outside, like probably literally at 11, me and Gino both decided is Heritage. If they won that game at Arapahoe, they would probably be in the top 10. We know the talent they have from watching the Summer League. They have a lot of great athletes. They have a player in Abby Nichols at quarterback who we have a lot of respect for. She's a great dual threat. She leads the state in rushing right now, by the way, and is a top 10 passer in this state. That's big time, and she's going to be doing a lot more moving forward. Heritage could definitely sneak in, or not even sneak in. They could go ahead and take someone's spot in the top 10 if they beat him. So we'll just have to see what happens. I wouldn't count Heritage out. They lost to Arapahoe, but it was by a point here. If they played a cleaner game, which we know they can, then they easily would be top 10. But for now, they are just outside at 11, the definition of just outside. But at 10 in our PMC rankings right now is Arapahoe. Me and Gino both have Arapahoe at 10. So there you go there. But this is what Gino had to say about them. He said Arapahoe shocked everyone by going 2-0 in the first weekend of games in program history. The defense is elite. The offense has a great scheme. It just comes down to whether or not Arapahoe is ready for the more experienced programs. And I definitely agree about that. I really feel good about the defense here. Offensively, I think there is some growing that needs to be done over there. You got a lot of, the whole team is inexperienced, right? But it just feels like there are times this offense really relied on splash plays. They got to get good at putting together drives. And so we'll see what happens moving forward. They're going to play tougher teams. They play Chap here later this week. And so that'll tell us a lot about Arapahoe here. But for now, they take this 10 spot here right on the edge. Now, moving on here at number 9, according to our PMC rankings, will be Valor Christian. Gino has Valor at 8. I have Valor at 9. Let's see what Gino has to say about Valor here, who he has ranked above me and above this 9 spot in our PMC rankings. But he says this: Valor is a very dangerous squad to keep an eye out for. That is a well-coached squad that already has plenty of postseason experience on the roster. Gotta agree there. Got to watch them in the Summer League. Feel good about their depth, in case, that was ever really an issue. But feel great about their depth there. They made a pretty solid run in the playoffs last season as well. They got a lot of good athletes. I think Alexis Wood is the truth over there. And, they got a bit more to go here, but they got to continue to win. I think based on Summer League, there are definitely some issues more so with the offense than the defense, but there's no doubt that they have the athletes to outscore a lot of teams here. And so we'll see what happens. They play Regis here in a week or so, who I believe is ranked, according to our PMC rankings, is ranked above them. So we'll see what happens over there with Regis Jesuit. But, they won. They're currently undefeated. So right now they sit at 9 for us. At 8 is Legend. This is what Gino had to say about Legend, who he has at 9. He says, Legend has a championship defense with a less than stellar offense. I think that spells trouble for the Titans, especially against top teams. We saw why this is a problem in their loss to Arvada West. And yeah, I gotta agree. They got back into the winning column here, so you do gotta feel good about them. This defense is elite. This defense realistically could be a top 3 unit here in the state in 5A. But offensively, there are definitely some issues there that just did not work against top talent, at least not well here. Against Arvada West, it didn't work well. And then against Pomona, they only scored 1 touchdown. Right, so that's definitely a little bit of a red flag. We need to see this defense continue to play well and this offense to take steps forward during the season for them to move up. If they do that, then they're going to win games against teams that are currently ahead of them. So we'll just have to see what happens there. Now at 7 is Regis Jesuit. Gino has Regis at 7. I think I do as well. Sorry, I have Regis at 8. But this is what Gino says about Regis. He says that I think Regis' biggest question mark is the passing game on offense, and that is going to be their ultimate downfall. The Raiders win a lot of their close games, though, so I definitely could be underestimating them. I do have to agree. I think their defense is really good. Secondary is tall and athletic. We've been known that. But offensively, it could be better. I do think they still rely a little bit too much on rushing the ball, but they're getting better. They're definitely passing it a little bit more. Regis is a team that we do need to see in person, but, they continue to win, and they're undefeated right now, so you got to feel good about them moving forward. So there you go there. Now, moving on in our power rankings, at 6, we have Chap. I have Chap at 6. Gino has Chap at 6. Chaparral, that is. Sorry. But this is what Gino had to say about Chap. He says, Chap is a lethal team that has a roster littered with playmakers. They just need a win against another top team before I can put them in the top 5 of my rankings. I pretty much have the same. They're currently undefeated right now. They're rocking with their freshman quarterback Zoe Fink, who is super talented. Her twin sister Paige Fink is extremely talented as well. And then they got a lot of great players over there like Jamie Baum and Sophia O'Donnell, I want to say, who I really like. But, it's just a matter of time. We got to see them continue to work through their schedule here. If they win, they're going to move up. If they lose, I don't know if I drop them right away, but I do really like their offense. And they also got a lot of height on defense where it could be difficult for some teams. So Chap is kind of in that middle spot for now. Now, going into the top 5 here, we have Cherry Creek. Myself and Gino, I think, have pretty similar top 5s here. But either way, Cherry Creek is at 5. Gino says this about them: Creek should still be considered a contender, but honestly would not put them in the same tier as teams like Ralston Valley, Arvada West, or Mountain Vista. This is coming off of Cherry Creek's opening loss to Mountain Vista, which was only by 2 scores, right? But if that was maybe a 1-score game, or if they beat them, they would definitely be closer than that. We know the talent they have over there. For them to basically lose by the same amount as Arvada West is not like a crazy, I don't think that's too crazy of a ranking to put them right here at 5, pretty close to A West here. And actually, at the time I'm recording this, it is August 27th. Tomorrow, hopefully, I'll be watching Cherry Creek versus Chatfield. If Creek wins, then they move up. Simple as that. If they lose, I think I might move Chap ahead, depending on if Chap gets that win over Arapahoe this week. So that's just me personally. We'll have to see what happens from there. But now moving on, at 3/4, it's a tie for 3rd. So we have Arvada West and Chatfield. Gino has Chatfield at 4, Arvada West at 3. This is what he had to say about Chatfield. He says Chatfield has potential to rise into the top 3 next week, depending on how that game against Creek goes. This is a top defense in the state either way, though. And then he said this about Arvada West. Arvada West simply got outplayed against Mountain Vista, but the Wildcats are still firmly in the upper echelon of teams in the state regardless. For me, it's flipped. I have Chatfield at 3 and Arvada West at 4. Let me talk about Chatfield. Currently, they're undefeated. They played some solid teams, blew out Eagle Crest. That's a big deal. They beat Green Mountain, which we know has a good defense. Offensively is a bit so-so, but we know they have a good defense. I like that. That's still undefeated. For Arvada West, I mean, they beat Legend. It was a slow start, but, first game of the season, I'm not going to hold them to it. But then they lost to Mountain Vista, and on top of that, I mean, they had their chances, but they had a lot of big plays, or I would say they relied on a lot of big plays rather than building drives. And while it's not a red flag, it is definitely something I'm keeping an eye on here. I expect Arvada West to potentially move up, but it does depend on whether Chatfield beats Creek or not, in my opinion. Right now, I have Chatfield ahead of them. If they lose, then I think Arvada West naturally moves up because they do play Pomona tomorrow, and I think that's probably a winnable game based on seeing how Pomona played some of these other teams. But, never knows. If they lose to Pomona, then they're going to drop. So, simple as that. We'll see. I think this is definitely in flux. It's very obvious that these two teams have a lot of talent here. Chatfield has a great defense. I like him. Offensively, they have the potential to score a lot. But I think they do need to clean up some things over there. Arvada West, I like their offense a lot. Defensively, though, while they are solid, I need to see how they continue to play moving forward. I expect them to get better, so I'm not freaking out, but that's just kind of where I'm at. I think tied for 3rd is appropriate right now. Now, at 2, Me and Gino, we agreed on this. We have Ralston Valley here. Gino says this: Ralston Valley has been on an unprecedented run to start the 2024 season. Zoe's always leading easily a top 3 offense in the state. And yeah, I gotta agree, this offense is humming. They have the lead passer in the state. They also have one of the top defenses in the state, having multiple sacks or averaging multiple sacks and interceptions, turnovers a game. That's big time. On top of that, they haven't allowed anybody to score while they've been blowing out teams. Now, it is teams that you would expect them to blow out, right? I'm just throwing that out there. But they're taking care of business and doing what they got to do. Winning in a dominant way and being undefeated is really hard to ignore, especially when you have teams that may have won or so losses here, or haven't played as strong teams or dominated teams that are as strong. And so Ralston Valley right now, I think, is a safe number 2, just as much as Mountain Vista at number 1 is extremely safe, especially after another strong week. Gino said this about Mountain Vista: the Golden Eagles gave Arvada West their first regular season loss in program history, plus they beat Cherry Creek, who was the state runner-up last year. Easy number 1 ranking for Mountain Vista. And yeah, I gotta agree. Like I said, first team in Colorado girls flag football to beat 2 teams that were in state the year before. I know that might be a cherry-picked stat, but that's pretty big time. You gotta respect that. On top of that, they put 66 on Cherokee Trail and shut them out. That shows a very dominant team. This team is rolling. They're on fire. How could they not be at number 1 right now? They should be. You know, they got a lot of weapons. Defense looks good. Offensively, they have a dynamic quarterback. I wish they would put in stats, is all I'm saying. And they have a lot of weapons at wide receiver. Multiple ways they could beat you. This is a Mountain Vista team that we really like. So there you go there. But just to review for 5A, just outside right now is Heritage Grandview North Glen. 10 is Arapahoe, 9 Valor Christian, 8 Legend, 7 Regis Jesuit, 6 Chaparral, 5 Cherry Creek, tied for 3 is Chatfield and Arvada West, 2 is Ralston Valley, and at number 1 right now is Mountain Vista. So we definitely expect that to change here moving forward, especially on the day that this releases on Wednesday. Expect that to probably change with so many big time games happening Wednesday night here. So that'll be very interesting for them moving forward. But we're excited to cover it here in the next couple weeks and for the rest of the season. All right, now let's talk 4A rankings. Kodey is in on this one here as well, so I'll be reading off his reasonings. For 4A, I'm just going to be honest, this is a very tough one to do because there's a lot of teams that we don't know much about. A lot of the teams here have only played like 1 game, and then you have teams here like, I think there's only 4 teams who have existed beyond this season. So it's a very speculative. We just wanted to take a shot at it and see how it fares moving forward. But we expect this to drastically change even after this week, honestly. And me and Gino, we're going to watch a lot of these teams this week, so that could definitely change. But let's go ahead and get into it. To start, just outside, which got a vote, was a Vanguard. I was the only one who voted for Vanguard here. I put them in my top 10 spot, in my 10th spot actually. Last year they played very well. They haven't played a game yet, but I expect them to do well moving forward. So there you go there. But at 10, according to our PMC rankings, is Gateway. Kodey and Gino put them there. This is what Gino had to say about Gateway here. But he says this: the 10th spot was tough, but Gateway gets my vote since they are undefeated. Believe they have won a game so far. Kodey says this about Gateway: 1-0 against Vista Peak Prep to start their season. So that's a safe one to put there as of right now. At number 9 is Ponderosa here. I had Ponderosa in my 4A rankings at 7. Gino had Ponderosa at 9. And then Kodey, I believe, had Ponderosa at 9. This is what Kodey had to say about Pondo. Earned a tough win to start and lost a close one. They got some speed over there. Nice and simple for Kodey. For Gino, he said the Mustangs look great in some of their summer league games, so they could definitely move up as the season goes on. And I agree. I think they have a lot of potential, but they got to continue to beat teams. The one close loss they have, I think, was against Thunder Ridge, which was a 1-score game. It's probably one you have back. If they beat Thunder Ridge, they'd probably be a little bit higher here. So there you go there. for that. Now moving on, at 8 is Evergreen. I had Evergreen at 8. Gino had Evergreen at 8, and I think Kodey also had Evergreen at 8. Kodey said this. He said they went 1-1. They got good athletes last season, with their loss being a close one to North Glen in 5A, who they played pretty close there. I think a one-score loss. And then Gino said this about Evergreen. They gave North Glen a run for their money, which is quite impressive. And North Glen is undefeated, closing in on a top 10 spot potentially in 5A here soon. So there you go there. And that's the same reason why I put Evergreen up there. Also, in the past couple of years, Evergreen was one of the first programs to have girls flag football. And so I trust the experience. You know, when we've watched them, we've always known that they've been a solid program. I think this is an appropriate spot for them right now. So there you go there. At 7, though, is Vista Ridge, a first-year program. I have Vista Ridge at 9. Gino has them at 7. Kodey has them at 7. He said this, they're 1-1 and they played TCA close. Gino said this about Vista Ridge. Vista Ridge's defense might be legit, but they haven't been putting up many points, so it's hard to rank them until I see them in person. Guess who's going to watch them in person this week? It's me and Gino. So we'll see about that here. Close win against Smoky Hill, and then they dropped a close one, I want to say, as well. I am a little concerned about their offense, though. I think that's pretty valid, but that's just box score watching. We'll see what they're all about here on Saturday. For now, though, they still make our top 10 here at 7. At 6 is Mullen. I have Mullen at 6. Gino has Mullen at 6. I think Kodey has them at 6 as well. Kodey only put 2 words here for his reasons, and it's 66 points, which they scored against Aurora Central tonight. Gino said this about Mullen. 66-point blowout, puts the Mustangs at the 6th spot. And then same. I mean, look, they are only 1-0, but that's a dominant win. So you got to feel good about that. We'll put them there right now at 6, but expect that to change. Now let's get to our top 5 here. We have TCA. I have TCA at 5. My alma mater, by the way. Gino has them at 5. Kodey has them at 5. Kodey said this, undefeated with some close wins against some talent. Gino said this about TCA. Nearly beating Thunder Ridge is enough for me to trust TCA. Well, they did beat Thunder Ridge. So there you go. I think he meant, they still nearly beat them. They only won by 7, which is a little concerning. But they put up some points. Thunder Ridge was a solid squad last year. Made the playoffs. For them to win, and it wasn't like 7-0. They scored multiple times. That is definitely a good omen. We'll see how they fare moving forward, especially on Saturday. Moving on, we have Green Mountain. We have them all ranked at 4. I think that's pretty safe there. Gino says this about Green Mountain. Green Mountain will be a solid team in 5A, so you better believe they're top 5 in 4A. Agreed. Kodey said this about Green Mountain, 1-1, but played a 5A contender pretty well in Chatfield. They blew out Eagle Crest, so there's that. That I feel like that shows that they could play in 5A. And then they played Chatfield a little bit closer than I thought they would, but we knew they would have a solid defense that'll slow down games. Offensively is probably still an issue, but the talent of this defense is definitely there. So right now they sit at 4 with the potential to move up here. Moving on to our 3 spot in our PMC rankings, we have Dakota Ridge. We all felt like Dakota Ridge was at 3, so we all ranked them at 3. Gino said this about Dakota Ridge. Dakota Ridge looked phenomenal in their season opener, so there you go. Kodey said this, Dakota Ridge, fantastic athletes and a big win against Lakewood. I know it's against Lakewood and whatnot, who hasn't won a game, but they got athletes over there. They got a lot of athletes over there. Their defense looks very well coached. Offensively, they didn't really have to do too much because they won on the defensive side. A lot of scoring over there, scoring on special teams. If they could do that, that takes a lot of pressure off the offense, who still can run some solid plays and have a solid scheme. We just got to watch a little bit more of them, but I really like Dakota Ridge and their potential here. So there you go. Now, at number 2, and the difference between 1 and 2 is 1 point, but at number 2 is Pomona. I put Pomona at number 1. Kodey and Gino put Pomona at number 2. This is what Gino had to say about Pomona. He said, the Panthers were a Final Four team last year without classifications, and Jay Cordova should lead this team to plenty of success this season as well. Kodey said this about Pomona. Toughest opponents by far, and we're still competitive. That was back in week 0. I don't think they played week 1. And in week 0, they lost to Legend by 7. That's a really close game. Against Mountain Vista, that was more of a blowout. But, it was at the end of the day. And I felt like they still made some plays. They just couldn't finish at times, right? And that's against that's against the number 1 team in 5A, arguably in the entire state. A team that has beat, the state champs from last year and runner-ups by 2 scores. So for Pomona to be there, I feel like they're a number 1 team still. Those are 2 very good teams they lost to. I'm fine with it, right? So there you go. I don't mind them being at 2, especially because they haven't won yet. But I think I know who they have. I like their coach. He's a good schemer. I think they do make the most out of what they have over there. And I like Jay Cordova as an athlete, as a leader, a playmaker. And so I have Pomona at number 1. But in our PMC rankings for now, after week 1, they're at number 2. At number 1, though, for Kodey and Gino, and, our PMC rankings actually, is Mountain View. They're number 1. I have Mountain View at number 2. Kodey and Gino has them at 1. Gino said this about Mountain View. The Lions looked great in Summer League and have been dominating to start the year. They're undefeated right now. Kodey had this to say. He said 60-plus point differential over multiple games, and most intriguing talent pool in the state, as they do take up pretty much all of northern Colorado. Longmont and Loveland are major areas, plus surrounding areas around there as well. That's big time. We also like their coach a lot too. They've called some very good plays and whatnot, and we like their scheme, and it shows. They're undefeated, right? And it hasn't even been close. They've blown out teams, and so right now they're undefeated. They've blown out teams. I think it's fair to say that they are number 1. I don't personally have them at 1, but I could see why they're there. I have them just outside at 2. I think it'd be interesting if them and Pomona played, considering Pomona has a little bit more experience. But we'll just have to see how the rest of this season turns out here. There's going to be some major games that'll decide some of the rankings moving forward. So we'll see. But just in review, just out is Vanguard. At number 10 is Gateway. At 9 is Ponderosa. 8 Evergreen. 7 Vista Ridge. 6 Mullen. 5 TCA. 4 Green Mountain. 3 Dakota Ridge. 2 Pomona. And at number 1 in 4A is Mountain View. All right, but that'll wrap up week 1 of the 2024 Colorado Girls Flag Football season here. We're going to move on to week 2. Make sure you check out the week 0 recap if you haven't yet. A lot of great games on that one. But super excited to cover this thing. As of right now, it is currently 10:32 p.m., August 27th. So I'm going to get this thing cut up, and it's going to release in a couple hours. So thank you so much for rocking with us. If you want to check out more content from us, like highlights from games that we've been to, go ahead and check us out on TikTok at Playmakers Corner. We've also posted one game, I believe, on Instagram as well. So show us some love there. And on all of our social medias at Playmakers Corner. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter/X, TikTok, all that great stuff. We appreciate y'all's support. If you're an athlete and we mispronounce your name, or I mispronounce your name, I apologize. DM us. We want to make sure we get that right. If you have stats, DM us. Rosters, information, this is mostly towards coaches and players. Feel free to DM us. We will take what we could get, because we want to be able to cover Colorado Girls High School flag football as accurately as possible. But until then, we'll catch you later.